Hi, I'm at the studio with Patrick and Michaela. Beth, what's up? We
You're
on now?
on. You're live.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another question and answer. And boy, it has been hot in New England and working. It doesn't stop us from working, but I noticed maybe you guys can comment on this. Working in air conditioning is still hot. And that's the way it's been for the last, what, week or two? Week, Patrick, at least.
Not just hot, muggy.
Muggy, humid, crazy weather. But anyhow, that's here in New England. And we had a lot of flooding up north. Vermont got hit really bad with flooding. You know, most people don't think of Vermont as flood area, but boy, they got really walloped. A lot of rain. Mount Washington had more rain. I think the most rain, or the second most rain ever recorded on Mount Washington. I can't remember how many inches, but it's crazy. Mount Washington is known for their crazy weather. But anyhow, here we are. Working away and still, you know, for everybody that's new to this channel, we have this YouTube live show that we do in support of the online classes and also the YouTube channel, so that if we don't answer on the YouTube comments, we always usually answer in this. So oftentimes you don't see it in writing, but you can tune into this and to get your answer, and on the online classes especially. And any other questions that you might have, and we're going to review some Facebook submissions too. So let's get to the YouTube first. Patrick just stepped out of the room. That kind of throws me off a little bit because I usually play off him a little bit because Jimmy's not here. Jimmy's working on Saturdays. He's actually doing really, really well, working in the shop, covering the shop when I have to go out on a Saturday, which is our busiest day. So that's good. And thanks to Jimmy if he's watching. Thanks for that. So let's get to the YouTube. This one's on the ply grip, 101 uses for application tips. Fopside, or Lopside, sorry, says, hi, I want to do single piping and then the ply grip along the top side frame of a carved sloped antique fluted back tub chair on the inside and outside back. It was originally cardboard trim under braid, but I really dislike braid, and I also dislike double piping. So the question is, will it be secure enough, or will it have to do it glued double piping over staples? Thank you for your time. I think it's it's going to be even better than piping over staples. The ply grip, if it's put on correctly, and that video shows how to put it on correctly, will be fine. What the problem is on ply grip, which you have to remember now, I give tips in this video about the intersections, you know, like from the corners and things like that. It's very important to pay attention to that because that's where you can compromise in the corners, especially in the high traffic areas on the outside of a tub chair like this. So sometimes what we do is we even put a couple of hand stitches in there, and that's not what I said in the video, but this is what we do sometimes. If it's a high traffic area, or if it's a swivel like this and you know it's going to hit up against something, then a hand stitching around the corner is something that you want to do in addition to the ply grip. A lot of people don't think that you can do both, but you can. So that will assure that it won't go anywhere. Most normally, in normal furniture, that's not high traffic area, the way I tell you how to intersect the ply grip is enough. And usually with piping is better, single piping is better than no piping on the ply grip. It closes up the ply grip better. It hides underneath the piping. So this is a really good question. Thank you for that. And the second one here is, what do you think of using an awl in place of a regulator? I suppose in some applications it's okay, but the problem with an awl is that it's thick. If you put an awl and a regulator together, the awl is, yes, it points, but it immediately gets thick. Whereas a regulator really is smooth, a smoother instrument and a lighter instrument. And awls usually come with a handle which An awl is just too much tool for what a regulator is more finesse. But an awl, I use an awl to take out staples with the mallet, to lift the staples. That's good. It depends on where too. But an awl has its place in an upholsterer's drawer, and an awl shouldn't be used to close up ply grip like I just mentioned, or to regulate fabric from the top side. It's just too thick. You put an awl through fabric, you're going to rip it. Whereas a regulator just kind of, in most fabrics, and you should always check, regulators just tend to go through fabric nice and smooth. So I guess this is a 50-50. Yes, we use awls, but it depends on where you use it. And I wouldn't use a regulator as an awl. I should bring that up. It's tempting to take your regulator and try to lift staples with the regulator, but you do that once and bend the tip of your regulator, you're finished. Or if you put a burr on it, be aware of that. So good questions so far. 2 really good questions here, Patrick, from YouTube.
Yeah.
Really addresses some really finesse things that we do in upholstery. It tells me that maybe people are starting to, maybe these people have been watching, have been practicing, and are fine-tuning their skill. That's what that means, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of fine-tuning skill, Blair Gilly has been posting his own videos now, Patrick, which I think is wonderful.
Yeah, that last week. Yeah.
But
check them out.
He speeds them up. He speeds them up, so they're not boring.
So he's just showing does he talk?
He's just showing his work. I think he talks a little bit, but I think he's doing something a little different. But I think it's great. I think he's I did want to mention, I think about Blair a lot, but if you guys have opened up a business, even if you don't have a storefront, but you've started a business out of your basement and you're getting customers, I want to hear about kind of like your community and what you think that your small business has added to the community. I think it's really important. We teach in a community education, so we try to give back to the community as much as possible. And I want to hear your experiences. I think Blair does a lot, and I just want to hear how you guys have made a difference in your community, if you want to talk about it. Any questions or comments so far, Patrick?
Malcolm just says hi.
Hi, Malcolm. Determining yardage. Sarah said, dang. What's dang, D-A-N-G? Is that like a southern thing?
Yeah, no, not really. Anybody uses I've said that before.
Dang, I'm short by 2 yards. Laugh out loud. Thanks for the info. That was on determining yardage. It still does. It's not a game changer, too, if you think. There are little tricks. I think I show little tricks on how to save yardage. Like manufacturers put stretches on all their inside fabrics to save fabric. And the reason they do it is if they're manufacturing 10,000 wing chairs, that makes a huge difference over 10,000 chairs. But if you're close on fabric, you can do it too. You can just barely measure to the seat. Let's say the seat, you don't go through the seat to where it's going to be tacked, but add a stretcher. And when you think about it, if you have 3 pieces of fabric that have to pull through the seat, you're talking about, let's see, 30, 30, and 30, and maybe, let's say, 5, 10, 15. So you probably could save a half a yard if you add stretches to the inside, if you're really close on fabric. So keep that in mind. Fixing a pop button has to be one of the most popular ones. I didn't know so many people had buttons that were popping, Patrick. But they do. Bobby says, hi, I have a sofa that the tufts are still in place, but the stitching on diagonal leading to the tuft has unraveled. Any tips? Well, I think you can see, you can hand stitch that. It's not a machine stitch, but if you really practice that hand stitch, you can make it look like a machine stitch. So it's a blind stitch, so the thread's hidden. So go to the other. We have a video there, Patrick, on how to hand stitch, right? It's buried somewhere in the channel. Go to the channel and look it up and get really good at hand stitching, and that's the solution to that. let's see, Hall of Fame, I guess. How to Upholstery and Dining Room Truck Part 5, Final Step Double Piping. Brilliant. I love this. Thank you. Thank you. That double piping, I guess people have there are different methods to double piping. Some people, I know an upholsterer that still uses a single piping for his double piping. He's just used to doing it that way. And I look at him doing it and say, wow, I could cut out at least one step with just getting the double welt cord. But he's so used to doing it that way that he's not going to change. That's what he does. But I think I have my own style, and that's what I feature on that video, so you guys should check it out. Okay, anything else, Patrick, that we should talk about? Because you weren't here on the introduction. Any updates?
No, we're kind of in between here with classes, so
Yeah,
we just posted one and we're waiting to start the next one.
summertime, man.
So we're not sitting on any footage, we're just gotta get Jimmy in and start the next class.
Are you caught up with all your footage?
Yeah, we filmed everything. The last thing was the wing chair, we gotta do one
So,
more.
have you reviewed, for people who are just watching and wondering what the heck we're doing? I mean, we're here, we're doing this YouTube channel, but I think our
Right now we're in kind of a slow period, so we haven't started the next thing.
right, but I mean, we've got so much in the library of the online classes. So can you talk now on the online classes? Do you have any idea how many classes we have? First of all, how many different segments?
Well, I could figure that out now.
Yeah, I just want people to know who are just watching.
Over 10 at this point.
Over 10, but
10
how
online
many
classes.
individual classes would you say? Lessons?
I don't know, because there's so many. There's so many lessons.
Well, let's say 20 on average.
Each one has probably about 10.
So you're talking about 200 different lessons?
Yeah, except for the settee. I mean, I had 23 of
So
them.
about 200 separate lessons that you get if you subscribe. If you're, you get that yearly. Is it a yearly subscription, or is it? We're not doing that anymore, right?
Yeah, the package.
Package. So you go on Upholstery on Broadway and you check the tab up at the top that says store, right?
Yeah.
And you go to the online classes, and you can get individual classes or you can get the whole package. We should think, how much is the whole package, Patrick?
Right now we have the discount on one. If you get the future and the old ones, you get it for $250.
$250, and that's people tell us that there's great value even in one lesson, and I can vouch for that, because with Jimmy and Michelle and Bernice, those are the three characters, right, other than myself, right?
Yeah.
So with Jimmy and I would be stopping and looking at the camera and saying, see, this was worth the price of this class that we came to this and showed this to you. And those little nuggets, those are the things that you're looking for to enhance if you've been upholstering, you want to enhance your skill, definitely take a look at that. Those are the things that take a long time to learn over a career I'll stop and look at the camera. Jimmy will be, a lot of times Jimmy is the catalyst for this. He'll say something and I'll bring up a point. I'll look at the camera and I'll say, see, this is why you bought the class. And it's not just one time, it's a few times in each class. And you get, every single lesson has something like that. So check it out. And if you're on the YouTube is great. We love the YouTube, but we don't go into the in-depthness of an apprentice like Jimmy working alongside me. It just gets lost. I mean, it's hard to teach everything that's on your mind. Usually you don't. Usually you're just showing and not talking as much. But in with Jimmy, we're showing and talking, and he's kind of asking those questions that don't get asked on the YouTube. So check it out. Oh, and you could buy one class too if you want, right? But
Yep.
one class just to check it out to see if it's something that you want to do. Now, Jean, she's listed as a top contributor, Patrick?
Yeah, she posts a lot of stuff.
Is that did you write that?
No, it assigns, depending on how much you post.
Oh, you mean Facebook just automatically does that? Well, we really appreciate that. I think Malcolm must be a top contributor too, right?
Facebook, I'm not sure. He doesn't do a lot of posts on Facebook.
But this is
on here on the Q&A, he does.
So he's a top contributor on the Q&A. So we appreciate that.
I posted that one last week.
And so
that's still crazy. He posted a thing about those $15,000 chairs. Was that him that posted that? That
Oh,
was
right.
crazy.
Oh, you know what I saw today on Facebook? Some guy had the idea of putting a chair in the garden, and he put soil on the chair, all over the chair,
No.
and he put grass seed on it. And you should see it. It's a chair covered in grass.
Wow.
So I don't know. I don't know how many people would like that though. It's kind of weird looking.
Better not be worth anything.
No, I think they were even lawn chairs, like old lawn chairs that he used. It's really weird. You should see it. But anyhow, so Gene, we appreciate this on the Facebook because we don't always have time to do this. But remember, if you're posting on Facebook on Broadway Upholstery School, you're helping other people, and there are people who look at that from all over, right? They're not just people who are members, right, Patrick?
Yeah.
So the good thing about that, Jean, she must know that when she posts something, she's helping other people, and she's become quite good at upholstery, Patrick. Some of the things that she's doing are really cool. But she has something here that you guys are going to like. She says she got the horsehair on the seat bottom on this chair. Still have to put the burlap on and hand sew the front roll, then another layer of horsehair, cotton, then muslin.
Malcolm says chia chair, a chia pet.
Oh, on the lawn furniture, yeah. Actually, right now that looks like a little bit of a chia pet.
We should find that picture.
That
That reminds me of that one chair you found one time in the woods with the tree growing through it.
was an art student. Some art student did that. And Jean contributed again. Oh, this is an update to the chair I just showed her. She said, only got the burlap sewn to the springs and the bridle ties in. Might be hard to tell the difference between the two. Looks kind of messy. Then I worked in the garden and my back did not like it, so I hope to get back to the chair tomorrow, installing the horsehair. I washed the horsehair and let it dry. I don't like letting this much time go by and not working on a piece, but it can't be helped. So there she is with the burlap on it and then all her ties. That's good, isn't it? I like that. It's almost like a piece of art. It is a piece of art. And then Brad, Patrick, are there any questions or comments?
Yeah, nope.
It's a slow day today, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just,
Follow up from last week, because you were very somber last week with how slow we were. Have things picked up since then?
yeah, things have picked up.
Yeah, see?
Yeah,
Told you.
things have picked up a little bit, but I've lost, my biggest subcontractor's away for a while. So I'm forced to work longer and harder even, but
That's how it goes, up and down, right? It's never,
yeah.
like I say, except during maybe the fall to the winter, we're constantly busy.
We
We're not-
can't figure it out during the summer. It's tough. Now, I had a woman come in, Patrick, the other day. I didn't tell you yesterday. She has a 150-inch long curved sofa. That is a huge sofa. The sofa
Bigger than the world's biggest sofa?
It is. It's bigger than that one. It was.
Now we gotta get that into the shop.
We're not. I mean, that sofa was built with the house. The house has a curved room, and the woman bought the sofa for $1,000 with the house.
So what, do you have to do it in the house?
I don't know what I'm gonna do. We might have to get our moving company friends to move that if it has to come in the shop. But I don't even know if I'll fit it in the shop because we've taken the shop and split it in half. We have a wall to divide the shop, and it's so big. I think we'd have to put it in diagonally. That's how big it
That's
is.
crazy.
I'll tell you how big it is. She told me that two full adults can lay down head to foot on this sofa.
Wow. Here's one, Paul. Hey, Paul. New to YouTube situation. Thank you for the great content, especially the live. Like having you hanging out with you guys every week.
Oh, good. But Paul's the first time he's commented, isn't it? 'Cause
Welcome, Paul.
I don't remember hearing about Paul. Well, thanks,
We've
Paul.
known a couple of Pauls.
Yeah?
I don't know if it's that Paul. Probably not.
Actually, it's worth mentioning. Now, it's somebody else. It's not him that I'm talking about. But, sometimes having the skill isn't enough. You have to have other skills, too, to have any small business. I mean, you could be a world-class chef and open up a restaurant and wonder why nobody comes to your restaurant. I mean, we had a similar thing a couple of years ago. A couple came into town. They actually came into the shop at posing as customers. I don't know if I told you this, Pat.
Yeah, you did.
Posing as customers, but that's fine. People shop us for a variety of reasons. I just ask that they don't waste too much of my time, and sometimes they do. This couple came in, they were asking some pretty in-depth questions that I suspected that, they were there just to check me out. I didn't know why, but as it turns out, they were in there, they saw the shop was full, they probably saw my presence on website. They probably asked people, they may have gotten some other information, public information on me and whatever, and realized, hey, this guy's doing okay, so we're going to open up an upholstery shop. So what they did was they opened up on a parallel street in the town, but, they opened up, and they got into a year-long lease in a very expensive studio spot. In a better location than I was in, but location isn't everything. Yeah, you see location, you hear that, but it's not everything. And so eventually, after about 6 months into their lease, they came to me, and I recognized them, and they asked me for help. I said, I'll do anything I can, I'll give you some advice. I gave them some advice. But what they said, what they really wanted was some of my work. I said, I can't do that. I can't give you my work. What if my customer came into your studio and saw their chair there? That wouldn't work. I'm trying to be kind as much as possible, but I have a limit. That was the limit. And so as it turns out, I started to ask them, well, did you do any advertising before you came here? No. Did you have a website before you came here? No. We thought we would come and then build a website. Did you have any? They had experience from somewhere else. They could upholster. I know that, and they were a good team. One stitched. They were husband and wife. But they didn't do any of their homework on the social media end of things. And when I mean social media, everything possible that you can do it before you get into a spot. I mean, they should have had been ready and had work before they moved in, because once they got there, they're too busy doing all the other stuff trying to get work. I don't know. I did feel bad for them. They didn't make it after the year they were gone. It doesn't make me feel good, because I think that we can all coexist. I do believe that. I do believe that competition is good too. I do believe fair competition. Right, Patrick?
Yeah.
There's a lot of unfair competition, though, on a global standpoint. We've talked about that, but there's not much you can do about that, except, there are things you can do. You can just try to be part of the community, try to explain to people why your work is better than maybe something that you're going to buy overseas in a factory, the materials that you use. You look at the job that Jean is doing on that horsehair. She's actually, she's cleaned the horsehair that was in there, and she's repicked the horsehair, and she's using the horsehair because she knows, looking at the YouTube videos that we do, that is the best batting you can get, the very best batting, because those are like little mini springs. We've talked about that. So you talk to your client, you try to make them realize that why am I paying a third, let's say 25 to 50% more for reupholstering than I could do to go out and buy new, and then you should be able to proudly explain why. And fabric is factored in there too, and we're going to be doing that segment soon about fabrics with Michaela soon. But I mean, I think that this couple could have had, maybe if they had thought about it, maybe could still be there doing upholstery work. And, you give your customers, people are shopping me anyhow. What difference does it make if they're shopping me, 1 street over, or 10 street over, or a town or two over? It doesn't matter. So one more here, Patrick. It's from Brad. Is there any questions or comments, Patrick?
Malcolm has a couple of things.
Oh, good.
Running a small business is a skill of its own, regardless of what your service is. Most small businesses fail in the first few years. And he's right.
The skill set that you use. You know what, Malcolm? We did a video on the organizational. Now, I am not the most organized person. Just ask my wife.
And me.
And Patrick. But when it comes to the business, I am extremely, extremely organized. It might not look it when you come in, and you might not look at looking at me, but I know where everything is, and when I don't, it drives me crazy. Like I had something come up the other day. I had a post-it up there about a reminder about a job, and the name was Sutler, Sutler. Michaela's going to laugh because I haven't told her about this yet. I did ask her. I said, "Do you know that customer Sutler? I never heard of that name." She said, "Sounds familiar," but it turns out what happened was the fabric company that we use got the first letter back wrong. It's actually Butler, and they put
Sutler is a last name. I've heard that.
I've never heard of it before. I didn't know where that came from.
English.
Drove me crazy. I looked and I looked and I looked. Finally, I found the invoice that had the Butler, and then I put the two together. But that stuff drives me crazy when I don't know. But there are a lot of, when you talk about how many balls are in the air in my shop, which is, I would call it a mid busy, medium. But when you're talking fabrics and you're talking the actual jobs, and you're talking about the actual components within the jobs, you're probably talking about 100 or 200 different balls that are in the air, and they're constantly in the air and they're moving along. And then finally, when you complete the job and the fabric is on the piece, the job is delivered, then you can take and then put that invoice aside, and then you're done. And then you go back and it cycles. It cycles. And when you're out of your shop for a week, I got news for you. All the balls fall down. That's what I'm afraid of, because some people want to take vacations, and they want me to go. But that's another problem. You do need your time, right? So I'm going to have to figure out a way of keeping this thing going while I'm away, if I ever do take a vacation. But anyhow, any comments, Patrick? Is that it, Brad?
Well, I was going to say, I clipped an ad from a circular in my mailbox last week. New leather sofa for $5.98. Hard to compete with that.
What?
But how authentic is that? I mean, who knows what it really
$5.98. I mean, I couldn't even get a slip seat upholstered with the leather that we use for that much money.
Now, I'm sure if he followed up on that, they say, $5.98, but then you got to pay another $5.98 for
Wow.
something. Is always a catch, right? But if that's really just that, how can they afford to do that? Sell it for that cheap?
It's obviously what do they call that in advertisement? They call that a catch, or
Well,
to catch people's attention, and then they come in, and then they get the sales item, the sales. But anyhow, that's crazy. So that's what you're competing against. Because some people only look at price. That's all they look at. And they won't do work for you. I spent an hour with somebody the other day, last week, talking about the quality of work, the expertise that's going to go into it, blah blah blah. I think these people might have been shopping me for another reason. Or shopping, maybe they didn't like what they heard. Maybe they found somebody that would be quicker or whatever. You never know. So Brad says, I have an 1800s Lincoln Rocker that I am restoring from the ground up. Just curious as to the style of cloth as far as prints or plain patterns go. So what I like, Brad, first of all, that probably had a horsehair fabric on it at some point. And then they actually had horsehair fabric in diamond shape. I'm not saying that you use a horsehair fabric, because actually I wouldn't use a horsehair fabric on anything bigger than a slip seat, because you can still get horsehair fabric. I believe Malcolm probably would know this. It's only about 22 or 27 inches wide, right? The horsehair fabric. So it really is only good for certain things, and it pieces up terribly. You don't want to seam a horsehair fabric. But they have the diamond shape that is traditional. So I would look, if I were Brad, on a Lincoln Rocker, 1800s Lincoln Rocker, I would look for one of the older patterns in a fabric, and we have a lot of those. Michaela, we just sold one in a Tabasco color, and we have them all in different colors, the diamond shape. So I would seek out. And sometimes I do like to keep to the tradition of the piece. I know you don't. you can do anything you want, really. But on something like that, 1800s Lincoln Rocket, I would look for something traditional. Now, I have a book. Don't sell too many out of this, right, Michaela? That tapestry book. We don't sell many fabrics out of that.
No.
I know that you don't
Almost
like it.
none.
You don't like it, right?
No, they're not very soft. I think we've sold one.
Yeah.
I know of one.
But they do look good on certain pieces. And of course, they're supposed to mimic the real tapestries, which are beautiful. And they're not expensive. They're our cheapest fabric. And like Michaela said, it's like sandpaper. But okay, Michaela, are you ready to read some of these estimates that we have? Janine, we haven't heard from Janine, Patrick.
Well, she's never on live.
Yeah, but I haven't heard from her.
Maybe she's on vacation.
The reason I mentioned Janine is because Janine likes this segment. She's cataloging. She's in Australia.
She might be on, because it's winter there, she could be on a winter vacation or something.
Right. But she likes this because she's cataloging all of the estimates that we're giving, the yardage that we're giving, and the estimate, and she adjusts the. I don't know if she's adjusting up or down with the price. The yardage will be the same, unless she's converting. Do they do meters in Australia, Patrick? Do you know that? Are they metric system in Australia?
I'm not sure.
I think they are. So she must have to convert a little bit there, but and also the labor. I'm not sure if she's converting up on the labor or down on the labor, because I'm not sure what the economy is in Australia. But she's finding this very useful. So I'm going to go to my let's see. Is that Catherine, the first one?
I think so. So we probably covered this
Oh, is this an old one that
a
came?
long time ago. This is back from April.
That's okay. Oh, we already did this job?
No, so she only just started responding back to us again
Okay, well, let's show
after
this.
April.
She's got a love seat with a little ruffle, so I'll let Michaela read what this is all about. We don't see ruffle skirts. Let me just look at that again. We don't see ruffle skirt that much. I haven't done a ruffled or gathered skirt in a long time. So it's an upholstered seat, it's an upholstered arms, and upholstered back with the ruffle skirt. So what does she say?
She just says, reupholstery of love seat. Structure in good shape, but fabric needs to be replaced. Please send a quote for the labor only and the estimated yardage of fabric needed.
And we responded with how much?
1,808 yards.
$1,800.
And then she came back on April 21st, after we gave her after we told her about how we sell our own fabric. She says, would you do it for $1,500 if I buy the fabric through you?
It's a pawn shop now, I guess.
Yeah. What did I say? Because it depends. It depends
you
on if we're desperate or not at that point.
You said yes, if you can
Wow.
come in
That's
if
surprising.
you can come in today or tomorrow to pick out fabric. This was on April 21st.
Oh my
Usually
goodness!
they'll do that, Dad.
But that I remember we weren't busy, and I was thinking she should have
Should
jumped.
have came back and hit 1550.
No, she should have jumped at the 18 because I'd already given her a discount.
You should have said I need a buddy to come in and help me out with this one.
Let that be let that be a lesson to everybody, though. Once you start compromising on your prices, it's like blood in the water. The sharks, they can sense it from a long way off.
And then she sent a new response on July 18th asking about another chair.
Okay, is that a chair in here somewhere?
It should be the first email from July 18th in the same thread.
Wow. That's funny, it's just human nature. I'm not saying anything negative about this person. It's just human nature. It really is. So that's a club chair. A lot of sewing, guys. There's a skirt, there's a seat cushion, a back cushion, and I think some sewing on the arms. So that's a lot of work. So what did I say?
You said 1,100 plus 9 yards.
Again, a good price. So read on. Did she want a discount on that, or?
No, she says, sounds good, I'll come and look at fabrics, or we'll let you know when I have some. You responded saying we prefer using our own.
Okay.
And then she responded this morning asking, can you please tell me the price for one of the fabrics? I'm sure she looked online,
Wow.
so I responded with how much it cost.
This is a good thread, you guys, because I don't blame, we all do it. She's just a good shopper, and she's just doing what most people do, really, and she's already gone online. This is impressive to me. She's gone on our fabric online, which is public, and she's already got a number. At least she's given us a chance to, right,
Yeah.
sell us some fabric. But she's got the number. She already gave you. She actually did your job, Michaela. So this is an unusual customer, a real good shopper, right? Do we mind? No, I don't mind if we get the job. So, and then you already told her what the price is.
Yeah.
So the price is $88 a yard, which you guys is the exact average price, at least for the line of fabrics that we have. I should tell you guys a little shout out. I don't mind. I love to give a shout out to a company that's been treating us good. We're very happy with Greenhouse, aren't we? So the reason I'm happy with it, Michaela has her reasons, but my main reason, I shopped around. My main reason is that they have one warehouse. All of the people who are answering the phone are at that warehouse, and I can say if there's a close yardage, this is the most important thing to me. Michaela has a variety of reasons why she likes it. Maybe she can talk about it. But the main reason, if they're close, if I have a sofa 16 yards and they have 17 yards, I can say that sometimes they'll say, well, let's check, and they'll walk out to the warehouse and do a physical check to make sure there's enough fabric. She comes back to the phone, she says, there's 16 3/4, please reserve me the whole thing. You sometimes just say that if I need 16, I'll say reserve the whole thing. Right then and there, they put the tag on it, and I know it's reserved until I can talk to my customer and get a firm sale. So I'm a real shout out. And I like their fabrics. I like the quality of their fabrics. I like the selection of their fabrics. I like the different colors. Michaela probably for all those reasons too, I'm sure, right, Michaela?
Yeah.
All right, so what's the next one?
Clara, she got back to you.
Yeah, here's an interesting thing. We've already done a string of emails to this. This looks like talk about shopping and not realizing she's already talked to us.
Yeah, well, so now she's asking for quotes for different items.
It's not the same? It looks to
No.
me like the same.
No, she says, hi Michaela and Kevin, thanks for providing this information. We have presented everything to the client and will update you should they decide to proceed. In the meantime, we would like to inquire regarding a few custom pieces for another client.
Oh, okay.
We have attached a RFQ below. We currently do not have any final dimensions, however, if you could please provide a rough estimate for the labor cost, yardage requirements, and lead time, I would appreciate it.
We don't know who these people are. We'll do this later, okay? We can't do this live. I will say, because I can't even download it, but that's another issue. On this one here, we've already done quite a bit of back and forth between Michaela and I on this job. And given estimates, given commitments and everything, and I don't know who they are. It's not to say, I'm wondering if they're shopping, but we'll be courteous, but we'll do that later because I want to talk to you more about it, but not live. I have my suspicions, that's all. I mean, really, we're a small business, and our time is valuable to us. And we have a file this thick of jobs that sometimes people coming in, and they'll spend an hour with Michaela. I mean, it looks like a job, and for whatever reason, sometimes they go home and the significant other thinks it might be too much, or there's another bill that they need to pay, and then like this last one was from April, but for a variety of reasons, we don't get these jobs. So if we've got And we've got like 100 of these over a 2 year span, 100 at least. So that's an hour, maybe an hour or even a half hour piece, maybe 50 to 100 hours. And listen, it adds up. But, you know, it's customer service. Okay, what's the next one? Okay.
Pamela.
Okay. This is an easier one. You want to read that?
Hello, I have these 5 dining chairs I would like to get reupholstered and they probably need new foam. Is this something you can do? What is the process for getting an estimate?
So,
Sorry, I didn't read this from Paul.
Go ahead.
It's funny. I want you to know I'm playing the Upholstery on Broadway drinking game. Take a drink every time Master Upholsterer Kennedy says, "Right, Patrick," in his Boston accent. He's right. He always go, "Right, Patrick."
is he drunk yet?
He must be drunk now.
We don't encourage drinking on this show at all. YouTube,
That's up to you. It's your own
YouTube
discretion.
wouldn't Oh, that's funny. We like a little good nature though. So those are Danish chairs, and you guys on Danish chairs, they have those little plugs, those little wooden plugs that can be a problem. So you have to factor that into your price a little bit. But those little pegs behind the little pegs are screws. So a lot of times those little wooden pegs don't pop out how they do. So you have to break them. You have to take a screwdriver, carefully break them, and not break the edge of the wood. And then replace. You have to stain new ones and then replace them. So keep that in mind. And the fact that these, I recognize that fabric. These are Danish chairs. They've never been upholstered. They have latex on them. So Michaela and Patrick can tell you, they had to strip. Remember that thing you had to strip down with the latex, where you take the chisel and actually chisel it off. Mm-hmm. So there's some labor on these. So and then we need to put new padding on them. So we need to make sure that we cover ourselves with this. And so each chair, I would say $325 each chair. $325 and a yard of fabric each chair. And she's also asking what the process for getting an estimate. I guess we just gave her the estimate, right? Okay.
And what would the lead time be? Given that she picks an in-stock fabric.
Lead time on these would be 4 to 6 weeks at this point. So we are getting a little busy because I think the last two questions and answer ago, I think we were 3 or 4 weeks. So let's say 4 to 6 now.
4 to 6?
Yeah.
Okay. And Malcolm says, do you think the prospects are going elsewhere or not getting the work done at all due to the cost?
Yeah, it's interesting, Malcolm. It's an interesting question. I think, people, they always say to me, "Oh, there's not many of you guys around," but that's not true. I mean, there's a lot of DIYs, as you know, but when we won Best of Boston, and I'm not bragging about that, but that was a good thing to win. If you guys aren't familiar with that, and that was 2018. I was very proud of that. But people would say, people like to, you're on a high horse, and people like to knock you off the horse sometimes, and they'd say, "Well, how many upholsterers could there be?" And so I was curious, so I checked out in the metropolitan Boston area, which is, includes Boston, Cambridge, the surrounding communities, like suburbs, out to, usually it's the 128 belt, if you're familiar with New England or Boston. That 128 is 95 now. But there's probably 2 million people in that metropolitan Boston area, and there are 222 upholsterers. That's a lot of upholsterers to me. I lost my train of thought. What was the train of thought that Malcolm was asking? How many people? Yeah, so I'd say half of them probably found a cheaper upholsterer, at least half. I think the other half maybe were price sticker shock and not did it at all and went to buy new or just didn't do it. And we go back to who was Malcolm that was saying about the $568 leather sofa. So, even though people aren't going out and buying those probably, but that's the price point that you're fighting. You're fighting price point like that. People get conditioned to hear these prices. We had I don't even want to mention their name, a major competitor in the new furniture business who would advertise everywhere. Red Sox games, regular TV, on the news, and they were the darlings of all of the local stations, of course, because they spent millions on advertising. So when you're doing that, you're conditioning people. Yeah, they'll to come to your store, but then they'll always throw the prices out like that: $565 leather sofa, or don't pay us anything right now for 2 years, and after 2 years you can start doing the payments. Everything's free right now, things like that. Marketing geniuses, no doubt about it, but that's what you're competing against. So I would say half of them just thought it was too expensive. Some people say that. They'll say, oh, that's just, whoa, that's so much more than I expect, So
Yeah, it could be, it's free for 2 years, but it's also quality free.
right, and then you're on interest. People are paying in payments, and it's ended up costing them more money. There's all kinds of gimmicks that people use in order to get people to buy anything, really.
Yeah, Malcolm says, the last 2 jobs I lost were because the prospects bought new furniture.
Oh, so there you go, Malcolm. So
You'll probably be seeing them in a year, so it doesn't matter. Once their new furniture gets ruined.
I like to talk about the pandemic with new manufacturers and how they got their hand caught in the cookie jar. I try to get the customer to listen and to explain. Some people want you to explain your pricing, which some upholsterers or tradespeople don't feel as though they have to. But I like to educate people too, because when you think about it, Malcolm, the average double rubs. You look at double rubs on fabric. I bet manufacturers, if I had a double rub machine, which I don't, I'd love to be able to check the fabrics that they use to see. But I would say they're under 5,000. If they're 5,000, I'd be surprised. So our average fabric is 25,000. We recommend over 25,000, Michaela.
Well, everything that we have as an upholstery weight fabric, that says it's for upholstery,
Yeah,
is 30,000 or above.
yeah. And some are 200,000.
Yeah, some are even 400,000.
So the translation there is that we want it to last at least 15 to 20 years, which is an average use. Manufacturers are wanting your fabric to wear out after 5 or 7 years. So when your customer who went to the manufacturer, they're going to actually go through 2 new furnitures before they realize, hey, maybe Malcolm wasn't such a bad deal. The long term, in the long term, Malcolm's a better deal, or Kevin's a better deal. I like to explain that. So there are 2 main factors in furniture, in manufactured furniture, is the frame and the fabric, and both are made. It's either one. Sometimes it's one or the other. Yeah, they might make sure that the fabric's a better fabric, but the frame's going to do something. It's going to get loose. It's going to do this. It's going to do that. But not before 7 years. It's almost like they got the timing down perfect. And then after the end of 5 or 7 years, we got our use out of it, I suppose. We had a dog, and it's time to buy new, and they'll go back to the same place. And that's what they're expecting, except when there's a pandemic. So if you bought your furniture before the pandemic, and then your seating increased tenfold, and then after you buy right before and after a year, you start to see wear. And this happens. I have so many people bringing stuff back. They're so mad. But who would have predicted that? So it's interesting. It's a game. It's just a game. But really, honestly, I don't want to upholster something and put the labor into my own labor and my own talents, my own reputation, and then have it after a year or 2. Have it come back on me. That's ridiculous. So what's the next one, Michaela? Or is the next one?
I don't know if you want to do this one. It's from Emily.
Yeah, we could do that one. That's an interesting one. Why don't you read that? You don't have to tell where it came from, because that's private.
Hi, Kevin. I inspected a child's sleigh yesterday that has an upholstered seat. Could you send over an estimate for the scope of work and cost to reupholster? It is a brown velvet upholstered seat with a tufted back. The fabric was nailed into the sides and back of the sleigh. The upholstery also has a silver trim pinned or loosely stitched to it. This feature does not need to be recreated in the restored version. I have attached photos for reference. Please let me know if you need any more information.
So, okay, there is a photo. Okay, this is interesting, you guys. We don't see too many of these, although I've done big ones of these, not a child. We've done, I did one down, a community down the South Shore. It was a full sleigh. There's not many of these left, obviously, but the children's sleigh, I don't think I've ever done that. So that's an interesting project. We can give them an estimate, I guess, on that. We can say, so it's got the tufted and the nails. I'm gonna run into problems, I know I am on this because of the wood. It's probably gonna have to be redone. Let's just say 1,200. And let's say 1,200, and let's say, there is a picture of the interior, you guys. It's kind of nice. It's actually channeled. It's not really a traditional tuft. It's a channel with buttons. But we'll stick to that price.
How many yards?
Let's just say 4 yards, just to make sure. Probably 1 yard more than we need, but I'm having a hard time with the scale on that, so make sure. I know I'm gonna run into problems with this one though, with the wood. I mean, it's probably been used outside at some point in its life. And it has to be completely replaced and then recreated. I just did. Remember I was talking about that leather chair, Michaela?
Yeah.
That leather chair. I wanna share.
I saw the photo.
Yeah, and I even commented, wow, I couldn't believe. Sometimes I look at my own work and I'm saying, wow. But I want to show you guys where it's sat. So it sits in this is the leather chair that I did, the leather tufted back chair. You'd hear me talk that I don't do leather, but once in a while I'll take that job. That was a beautiful job. Actually, I don't think the picture, this is a case where the pitch doesn't do it justice at all. It's a pretty rocker though, very heavy mahogany rocker. Okay, is there another one or is that it?
That's it.
Okay.
But Malcolm says, people here in Arizona generally want new things. I try to focus on quality and my being able to do something unique they cannot buy in a local store.
Yeah, that's what you have to do, Malcolm. I don't know of any other way competing with the pricing. You know, and we tried to get into custom furniture. You know, Patrick, that's the reason why that can never happen. Because you think reupholstering old furniture is hard to sell. It's really hard to sell, you know, American-made, custom upholstered furniture, frame from the frame up. Forget about it. You have to be really specialized in order to sell that, and really, really good. I mean, I don't know if even with all that you could compete with some of these pricings. So. Anyhow, do you have any other business, Patrick, or are we all set?
I think that's it.
Well, that was a good show. It ended up, I didn't think we had much material, but we went almost an hour.
Well, business picked back up, so.
Yeah, and so is there any more, is Paul okay, or is he on the floor?
I don't know, I think he passed out.
Is that the Paul we know that used to know
That'd
us?
be funny if it was. That would be something he would say.
Right, Patrick?
Yeah.
Right, Patrick, right, Patrick, right, Patrick, right, Patrick.
Right.
All right.
All right, bye guys.
I'll see you guys later.
Imagine if it was.